Welcome to Acts of Awakening, a series of heartfelt conversations about the roles that we play, the masks that we wear, and the archetypes we embody. Acts of Awakening is a play place to unpack the moments in life that call us to change roles and dissolve masks, individuating us into the next version of ourselves. Together, we will explore the perspective of the cosmic play, inspiring soulful insights and a deeper understanding of the journey of becoming. Host Suri Sawyer is a certified death doula, Reiki healer, yoga guide, ancestral medicine practitioner, and multidimensional psychic. As a walking transmission, equal parts cosmic mirror, soul whisperer, and multidimensional midwife, she embodies the energy of a lucid dream, soft yet activating, grounded yet infinite. Suri weaves shadow and light without fear. Her essence feels like plant medicine incarnate. Her presence initiates recalibration and an invitation into introspection, remembrance, and sacred revolution. Now here's your host, Suri Sawyer.
Good day, good people, and welcome to Acts of Awakening. I'm Suri, your host, and I am thrilled about our guest today. But as always, I'm going to share with you the archetypes that this person most embodies. And as always, as I read the archetypes, my intention for you is to tune in to the archetypes in your own being and realize whether you embody that archetype a lot, or you know someone who does embody that archetype, or you want to embody that archetype more. And I want to say hello, Michael Christopher, and hello, Kim Princess. Thank you for being here. Are you guys ready for archetypical natures? So normally on this show, we have caretakers, and there's been a lot of descriptions of caretakers and the lover. But today, kind of like last week, we have two archetypes that are new to us to explore. And the first one is the creator. So the creator is one of the archetypes, and here is just a gist of the creator. So the creator is driven by the desire to bring new into existence. They are imaginative and innovative, and often artistically inclined, seeking to craft, design, or invent. Creators thrive on self-expression and originality. Hello, Grace. Now, every archetype has both a shadow and a light side. So the shadow of the creator, perfectionism or fear of imperfection, over-attachment to their ideas, leading to rigidity or frustration, and then procrastination or deficiency in finishing a project, self-doubt or creative blocks. That's the shadow. And I'm curious if any of you can resonate with that. I know for myself personally, I grapple with perfectionism. Hi, Lynn. It's great to see you. All right. The gift of the creator, or the light side of the creator. The ability to generate novel ideas and solutions, inspiring others toward their vision, transforming abstract concepts into tangible realities, and fostering innovation and cultivating achievement. So that's a little bit about the creator. And next we have the explorer. So tune in. Do you have this archetype? Do you know someone who has this archetype? Or would you like to deepen this in yourself? The explorer. The explorer seeks adventure, new experiences, and personal freedom. They are curious and independent and motivated by a desire to discover and understand the world beyond their current boundaries. I know I deeply resonate with that myself. I always love to expand beyond my current boundaries, no matter how uncomfortable it makes me. The light side. They are curious and open-minded. They are courageous, and they venture into the unknown without fear. They are independent and self-reliant. Their desire for growth is massive, and they love the process of self-discovery. The gift that they bring to the world. Oh, hold on. I just skipped the shadow. Forgive me. Let's go into the shadow of the explorer. They are restless and impatient. They escape responsibilities and commitments. Sometimes they can be overconfident and reckless. and their fear of missing out leads them to feeling trapped. I also really resonate with that. Now, the gift of the explorer, the gift that it brings to the rest of us here on Earth, the ability to discover new perspectives and opportunities, inspiring others to explore and embrace change, cultivating resilience and adaptability, broadening horizons, and fostering innovation through diverse experiences. So that is the creator and the explorer. And I am so curious. I've been an explorer since I was 4 years old, says Lynn. I hope you're still doing the explorer, Lynn. It suits you. And Grace, you're talking about procrastination. Do you know that one well? I do too. Let's chat later about that. And Charlene, thank you for being here. I would like to introduce to you now our guest for today. I'm very thrilled that she's here. For me, she's like a personal teacher and friend and sister on this path of life. You know, when you meet someone and you may not be in contact consistently, but you know that this path is long and that someone is always there. I consider this person an anamkara, a soul friend, someone that isn't consistent, but is always present. So this is Persepsion. And here's a little bit about Perseption. I think you guys will enjoy her very much. Can I read your bio while you're here, Perseption?
Yeah, you're welcome to.
Perfect. So let's see. Perseption is a reminder that that it's a matter of what you're creating. I love that. It's a matter of what you're creating. Through her nearly 2 decades of experience building business, brands, and large events, her deep love for people and creating the canvas that helps them support their own growth informs her work. She believes in creativity as both an artistic expression and a state of being, a call to action that empowers individuals and serves as a tool to foster thriving organization. She now focuses on providing companies and communities with the tools and mindsets that they need to go beyond and creating impact. She connects the resources to create lasting legacy in a world that we share. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so looking forward to this conversation. And I echo what you have said about not being in regular contact, but it's also in Woman Be Alive. There's an aliveness to being in communication with you. So I'm really looking forward to sharing time together today. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. My first question for you is on the perspective of art. I noticed that your business is called This Is Art. What do you do? Will you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah. So a good portion of it was in my bio, or what you shared just a few moments ago. I deeply believe in creative expression and to be an iteration of that which animates our human form. That is to be in union with whatever I call that which creates me. And to be in a human body in a physical form gives you so much opportunity to make things in the world. So related to what I've been spending my time on has been empowering projects and brands and businesses and ideas to come to fruition. Part of it is mindset and the ability that yes, you can, the mindset of yes, you can. And the rest is in our interdependence in bringing various people to the proverbial table to play and create and be curious about what's possible with the time that we have.
Yeah. Something that I noticed about you, and I wish there was an archetype called the bridge, but there's not, but there should be, or the connector. I guess in archetypical conversation, you could call it the everyman. The one who connects everyone. But that's a big work that I've been watching you do for a long time. And that's actually something, if you're comfortable, I'd like to bring it forward, is the work that you do in bridging Indigenous cultures with the Westernized mind.
Yeah, something I'm still activating and working with within myself, which is I believe where a lot of this begins, is how it's in my name also. This name that came to be.
That was my next question, actually. So hold on. We're gonna bookmark that and come back to it in a second.
Okay. Yeah. So the bridge parts.
Mhm.
In discovering my own path, informed by medicine, informed by plant teachers, by teachers I've become encountered with, um, indigenous teachers, but teachers of all varieties, cultures, backgrounds. Today I was talking about visiting with friends on a mountain who haven't ever left the mountain here in the States and raised their kids on that mountain. Um, all different kinds of teachers from various walks of life. The call that I feel from within is to be a bridge. And that bridge is a bridge between heart and mind, a bridge between jungle or the natural world and concrete jungle. I find it very interesting that many of our friends in the concrete jungle can't remember the last time they were barefoot. I think that's very interesting. And in my own life has become a bridge geographically between New York and Costa Rica. Though I've spent a lot of time in Central and South America and a lot of time in the States at large, having spent close to 15 years of my life in California. It's the bridge between. And I heard recently that there's also the part of a bridge that is the threshold on either end. It's kind of the liminal space in a doorway. You're not on either side yet. You're on the in-between place. And I find that perpetually interesting. That's the explorer in me. Where is the in-between and the places between and where they meet one another? And it has me very curious in today's experience of what is often very binary and often very much a dichotomy. It's this or that. But there's so much in between, friends. There's so much third space, fourth space, middle space, something in between what the mind perceives of as being this or that by contrast. And yeah, so that's what I'll share about those parts.
Well, something that I love about what you just described is it's this concept of black and white thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very mental. It's like very much of the head to have black and white thinking, but the heart doesn't really know black and white thinking. So when you're speaking about bridging the mind and the heart together, you have to move in order to do so, you have to move beyond black and white thinking.
Yeah.
And to bring those polar opposites, the black and white, into something that is cohesive, it does require a little bit of a liminal space where like turning into the liquid of a caterpillar.
I love that analogy. I find so much opportunity there and so much curiosity around what is possible to create with one another with the time that we have here on planet Earth in animated form, in a human body.
What is this thing?
What is this thing? Doing things. So good. This is me regularly, by the way. You're getting a first-hand experience of my daily life. What is this thing? And I would love to spend more time in playful curiosity with others and just to see. Like something else I was speaking about earlier today was we've done the same thing for a long time. I've done a lot of the same habitual things in my own life, in this lifetime, which is a microcosm of human existence. And we as a collective have done the same thing for many generations, many, 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 many lifetimes doing the same thing, doing the same struggle bus, as it were. And so there's a part of that for me that's boring, to say the least.
Yeah.
And so I don't purport to have the answers. I don't come to you with, I've got things figured out and let's do it this way. There's many ways. They all lead to they all come from the same, and they all lead to interesting places. So that's the explorer archetype in me, I'm sure. Can we spend some more time trying on something different? If I put my pants on backwards, or I try it with the things that make you turn your head, take a tilt, and that was curious. That was a pattern interrupt. That was out of the yeah.
Thank you for that. And I agree with this concept of habitual patterns going on for generations and then bleeding into our lives, where it's like you wake up at this time and you go to work at this time and you have this conversation at this time. And then the habitual mind can take over, and it's the habitual mind that's painting the direction for the future. So if you never interrupt the pattern of the habitual mind, then you're prone to keep recreating what you've already experienced in the past. And it takes an act of massive surrender to say, I actually don't know what comes next. I just know that I don't want to repeat this. And so if by divine order, I could get a different idea or just have it interrupted so I could experience something different, that would be rad. But I also hear you saying that that's not just on an individual level, but on this collective level. Like if we could just have an interrupt that would allow us to feel a different frequency or a different flavor, we might be able to create something different on a massive scale. And I also just wanted to say a bunch of people wrote in and said that they're ruled by their hearts, to which I want to say, a woman.
Hallelujah. Yeah.
Okay. Now, before we get too deep into that, I have a couple of points that I want to go over, and I'm going to fill you in on it now. One is your name, and the other one is how you went from growing up in the States into the medicine world.
Yeah.
And do you care which one comes first?
Well, in sequential order, if we're in linear time, the name came first, so that might be of value.
So would you? I know for myself, and I'll just share this really quickly. My name is not Suri, and just for everyone watching, my birth name is Melinda. Melinda is
Kristen.
Here we are as Kristen and Melinda pretending to be Suri in Persepsion, which it's all a game.
Yeah.
It's all a game. But I can just share that at a certain point in my life, I received this name and I loved it. And I understood that by changing the frequency of my name, it would change my life. And I didn't do it with a light heart whatsoever. And I've gone by Suri for almost 12 years now. And I can tell it has changed my life, because sometimes when I tune into who Melinda would be, if she was still operating this system, I would be somebody's office assistant. And I'm very good at clerical work. Like Melinda Ann is like wearing Costco brand shoes, and she's very good at filing things.
I identify with that so strongly. Kristen would be up to the same thing.
Yes. Yeah. But as Suri, I live here in the jungle and I haven't worn shoes in forever. And like, I'm having a great time. So for me, the name change meant a lot. And I have been writing with it. And I remember meeting you and thinking, oh my God, she's mind fucking everyone by being called Persepsion. Because she's asking them to confront their perception every time they say her name. And I was like, listen, I love the walk you're doing. So if you would please share with us a little bit about how you came into that name.
It's done the same thing to me, this name.
I'm sure.
Anyway, so this was not it was a conscious choice to accept the name. It was not a conscious choice that this was going to be the name, and that it was going to have such an impact and implication in my life, with every interaction I have with my understanding of myself and and including many times earlier on that I wanted to shed it, don't want this anymore. And by that point, it had a life of its own. There's been more than one circumstance where it was just the efforts of trying to push against that were more energy than I was willing to expend. So perception is spelled a little different than the traditional spelling of perception, which is also how it came. Perception is made of 3 parts: per, SEP, SION. Per is a commonly used adverb, into, with, each, for, per. SEP is an acronym for one of the theories of how the universe is formed. We're all an ounce of stardust, solar energetic particle. And SION is another transliteration for Zion, the kingdom of heaven, the city of gold. Mecca lies within. All that you have is within, and so it is. Perception. Life is a matter of your framing. Something that I'm regularly interacting with is, even lately, it's been through examining my value set. Why do I have the belief systems that I have? Where do they come from? What are my values? Where are the contradicting values? And so the name itself came from a moment of deep think in LA traffic. And
As it does.
a 2.5-hour commute at the time, after I had moved to a new place. I was moving from a new place after a relationship. So I was commuting 2.5 hours to work, and it came all at once. This is how it is. This is how it's spelled. What a strange experience. And there's been moments where I wanted to shed it because it's, in the early days, because it has the sh sound. And so I thought that people were, when I could hear people speaking around me, and I started to come into more positions of leadership and being looked to for a lot of things, I thought that people were talking about me. Oh, they're always talking about me, perception, this kind of thing. Or moments where it led to an infinite hall of mirrors. If everything is a perception of a perception of a perception, can I trust anything? And it's taught me many things. I've had a very funny experience in the jungle with my Shipibo teachers in Peru, of sitting down for the first day, meeting them, and saying, my name is Kristen, and that's what I wrote. And but you should know that I have this nickname. I have this other name that is how 95% of the world refers to me. Mm-hmm. Including my family, who have been to, most of the world is referring to me that way. So you should know I have this other name. And so the teacher says, okay, would you like us to call you that? And I said, no. I'm here. I want to do some work with Kristen. I think that that's important. That lasted about 2 days, and I had a very significant ceremony experience. And I came back and I said, nope, it's perception, and I'm accepting it. And the room of other people took a collective sigh, and one of them said out loud, oh, thank goodness, you're not a Christian. Okay, great. I will accept it now fully and completely, and thank you for this experience to make the conscious devotional choice for that. Yeah. And Kristen will continue doing secretary work. Bless her.
Bless her. Bless you, Melinda. Like, you're doing great things wherever you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious, in the process of changing your name, it sounds like you were coming out of a relationship and then starting to change it. And I'm curious what the process or initiation was of changing your name, and if it supports you at all. I know that for myself, when I first decided I wanted to go by Suri, I was terrified to tell people. I was like, what are they going to think of me? They're going to think I'm like some weird hippie who's like out there changing her name, because so many hippies do that. But this feels really important to me to be called this, to like change my frequency. And going through the process of asking people to call me something different, people that I've known for a very long time, like letting them know, hey, I'm going to go by Suri now. Here's why. Here's the meaning of it, and here's why I want to go by it. And then also starting to introduce myself to new people under that name, and the initiation of it. And also the process of lovingly letting go of being called Kristen. I'm curious how you laid that name down with love. Suri, I thought you were just a voice. No, I'm not just a voice. Although I have a great voice.
Indeed. It reminds me of, and what is this thing?
And what is this thing? She has a head and arms and a mouth and teeth.
Yeah, The thing that's most resonant from this, because there's a few different threads I could follow. The transition from that particular life chapter transition, leaving a relationship that was pretty volatile towards the end. So the transition into introducing myself that way and coming into a new community was relatively supported at that point. I wasn't actively seeking a new identity or a new name, but the interesting part in retrospect is that it allowed for the frequency change you described, but it also allowed for this, in that particular case, it allowed me to be a fully expressed person without concern of my past following me in potentially an unsafe way. So that was supportive, but not the original intent. But the thing that feels the most resonant is there's two parts to this. The first is a sign of our times that to introduce myself as Persepsion is just almost automatically accepted now. Almost universally, almost every time. And that's everything from a bodega, person at the bodega, to almost universally accepted all the time, no matter where I am in the world or what kind of human or background they have that I'm interacting with, accepted. So a sign of our times is how I feel that part. But I also feel in the early days, this name has so much like fun and silliness in it.
It does. I know. I want to get into it more.
So much silliness. So the degree to which I was firmly rooted in self is the degree to which it was accepted in the early days. If I wasn't feeling confident in that, or they're going to think I'm weird, or who am I to think I should have this name, or that kind of thing, then the reception was different. And you would get a different you'd get more questions, you'd get more skepticism, I'd get different kinds of reactions because it was resonance with what I was putting out as what I received. The pre-verbal things. And the other interesting gift of it is the almost like litmus test was the way I like to describe it, but it was like an immediate way to understand someone else and where they were based on their response, which these days I almost get none of that anymore, interestingly. So everything from, I wish I had a name as cool as yours. Your parents must have been hippies. Is that your birth name? You're fucking with me. That's not your real name. So even someone is more naturally skeptical in the world. So it gave me a gauge on where someone was just in the very first introduction, in the very first exchange of words. Hi, my name is. And then the other favorite part for me is my mom, when I have a sister who's 5 years younger, and I have two nephews who are 2.5 and 11. And I am Auntie Purr to them, incited by my mom, which is very cute, including the 2.5-year-old learning to say Auntie Purr, which is very cute. So it's been a gift, and I appreciate the conscious decision that I've made over time for something that felt like it came to me, for it now to be with and for me. Yeah. And it's nice to meet you, Suri, and like very grateful. Yeah.
I love how you can use your name as a gauge for how someone else is interacting with reality. It's powerful. And I am curious if you have I'm sure you have a much deeper understanding of the word perception now after being called it for so long, even though it's a different connotation of the word perception. Still, when you say it to the collective, they're perceiving the word perception. So would you indulge us in describing what you now know about perception?
Yeah, for me, this draws an interesting awareness to how we interact with objects in everyday space all the time. And anything and everything can be sacred depending on my perception of it, depending on when I notice this thing, is this I'm looking at a toothbrush. Is this toothbrush sacred? Does it have meaning to me? Was it a gift? Do I know where it comes from? It depends on the way that I'm receiving this form of matter, this particular accumulation of molecules, atoms, to decide whether or not it's meaningful. So with my name, I feel the same way. I'm glad to have attention drawn to it by others at points, including in this conversation, to be reminded of that the reception of the word, right? Like the more than just, because at this point, it just very much feels like a frequency. It feels like that's my name. That's me. I'm that. And I think the other part of it too that has landed that for me is the difference in spelling. I don't think the word perception. And so presumably when there's introductions and they're verbal, and I'm a visual learner. So if it's not something that you're seeing written, then that's how people, and still to this day, friends I've had for 15 years, about the length of time I've had the name, 14, 15 years, something like that. They probably still think the word perception in their mind. They still write it sometimes in texts and things like that. So I think the difference in spelling also, that's me. And then I have 1,001 nicknames. And I guess the final thing I'll share about this too is the the what people think they hear: reception, perfection, Persephone. There's a million alliterative P words they think they've heard, which is also kind of funny. Like, yeah, I've enjoyed that also.
Do you get confused for Persephone a lot?
Persephone is one of the more common ones. Reception is usually if it's, or has often been when I'm being introduced by someone else in a group setting. Perception, just like, that's me. We made a bunch of jokes on that too. And then there's Persepi, Persp, Sepi. Yeah, I mean, there's even been like in Latin American countries and Spanish-speaking countries, has been, Persepsion, or like saying it that way, and then they're like, oh, that's cool. Oh, but it's immediately accepted without question, which is so interesting to me.
Yeah.
Very rarely these days do I get asked, was that the name? And even now it's even more tender, which I also think is a sign of the times. And I don't believe it's purely from the people and places that I'm interacting with. I believe it's a sign of our times. I think it's a sign of our times that there's more gentle curiosity around, is that the name you were born with? It's even in the way people ask, rather than, oh, your parents must have been hippies, or I've heard the same question more abrasively. And these days it's much more playful, like gentle curiosity, which I think is beautiful. So, yeah.
Yeah, I resonate with what you're saying in the name change, because when people ask about my name, I'm like, it's Sanskrit. And they're like, oh, your parents studied yoga? And I was like, no, they didn't. It was a name that I chose. And I've also noticed a softening over time toward the general desire to be called something different. And before we move on to the next chapter, I am just curious if you have any insight around, now, for someone who's actually gone through a name change and gone from one name to another significant name that you've been holding for 15 years, is there anything you want to share about the quality of what we are called? Because I can sense in my own being that there is a very real reality and interaction every time someone says your name, whatever frequency that is and whatever it elicits from you. So now that you've gone through a significant name change and have fully adopted a new name, do you have anything to share about the power of what we're called or what we're named?
Such a great question. I'm curious about your thoughts on this also.
Yeah.
I mean, there's what we referenced in the beginning about frequency, and I think you summed it up so beautifully in there's a Melinda and a Kristen still being a secretary and still being a different iteration of a human in the world. And this has allowed for full creative, full embodiment of self and expression. The other thing I'll mention here, though, is there is still it's still something that comes and goes for me of a desire for integration between them both. And I think that's because I'm regularly seeking, evaluating my value set, evaluating the perception of myself, and seeking an integration of a union within myself. So there's still a desire to be called Kristen sometimes and to have a bit more fluidity amongst these things, though I don't feel the level of affinity with Kristen in the same way. So at this point, my resonance with it is Kristen is still a supporting role for perception.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. But I'd like to encourage more union amongst them. Yeah, I'd love to hear your feeling of this. And I'm so grateful that this is brought in, and very grateful for this topic. Thank you.
I also noticed somebody asked, what do your parents think about your name change? And I thought that was an interesting question. And I'm going to answer your question, but also share that when I changed my name, my mom went with it. She still calls me by my childhood nickname, which I feel not inclined to share publicly because it's still a name that I use for my internal work. So the less people that know it, the better for myself. And this is also something that I would share with people, is that sometimes there are names that you do not share, especially on a public platform, because they touch more tender parts inside of you. And I feel comfortable to share Melinda, and I feel comfortable to share Suri. And then I have 2 names that I won't share, and those are among them. And actually, funny enough, my parents really never called me Melinda. They always called me by this other childhood nickname. And so when I changed my name, no one was using it already, for the most part, except for like the government. And my father had a harder time with it. My mother really went right into it. She still calls me by my childhood nickname most of the time. But then will correct herself, and she's like, oh, that's right, you're Suri, I forgot. And I was like, it's okay, Mom. Like, you can call me whatever is right for you. And I have a really good friend I've had since I was 10 years old, and she still calls me Melinda. And I wouldn't have it any other way, because somehow her calling me that name is calling back this lineage of life that we have shared.
I echo the exact same sentiments. I actually read in a fantasy fiction novel, I think, many, many, many moons ago, even before Persepsion came to be, about a wizard never reveals all of his names, something like that. And it was names carry power, and when their reverberance is in the world, it's like abracadabra. I speak and so it is. Words are spells. So I like the way that you I like the way that you shared it, that it's a tender part or a vulnerable part that is tended to, it's nurtured and with more care. Because it also reminded me of the times that fortunately that hasn't happened in the more recent past, but in the early days, there was a time or two where someone was mad at me, and that was in the days also where I was more protective of the name Kristen. I wasn't sharing it as regularly. There's many people, it was kind of a protective element. There were a lot of people that didn't know that name. And those that did felt a comeuppance in themselves when they were mad, and they would hurl it at me like it was an insult. Okay, Kristen, right? They would you can feel it, like it was being used as a weapon, essentially, or like which is really uncomfortable. But yeah, I like the integration of them, the attempt for more integration. Perception's who I am, and I'm happy to share. And I'm no longer in so much tender care of Kristen to try to tend to her. And I think a lot of that has to do with walking a path of healing, sitting on my mat for many hours in stillness, and tending to those tender parts. So now it's fine that she's in the world too. And I think it's great that this is the first like public, and I love that it's with you, which is great. So that we share a common story in that way. I think it's great. I think more permission for our friends, more permission, like the sign of the times I kept mentioning, that there's just generally seems to be more gentle curiosity and acceptance.
Yeah.
I encourage, if there is a different vibration that you would like to try on for size, please do that. Please do
Yeah.
that. So much love and encouragement. Please do that. And be curious about the times where it's awkward, where it feels uncomfortable, where you're not sure about it, or you're not sure about it for yourself. I don't feel like a perception today. That's okay. Try it on for size. See what happens.
See what happens.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's one of the coolest human experiments to change your name. And I feel that deeply because I've gone through it. And I'm not saying like go around and be like, today I'm this and today I'm that and today I'm this, because that becomes confusing and you lose the sense of core self. But there is something really incredible about deciding to shift what you're called. And then you also start to get to see just how powerful that name is. And Persepsion, like you were speaking to, when I received the name that I go by now a few years before I decided to go by it. And I had been in sort of an internal conflict about whether or not I was going to bring it out of temple space and into my real life. And I had this very interesting day where I was prompted to say my name out loud, my Melinda. It was like, say your name out loud, Melinda. And I was like, I don't want to. I went into like a fight with my own like spiritual guidance. And it was like, no, say your name out loud. And I was getting ready for a dinner party. I was doing my hair and makeup and I had this pretty dress on. And then it was like, say your name out loud. And this led to me crying and sobbing in my living room, repeating my name over and over and over again, Melinda, 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 Melinda. And I was having flashes of every time Melinda was yelled at me, every time Melinda was used as a weapon against me, every time I was punished while my name was being used, every time I was put down or teased using my name, like this influx of information came in, both positive and negative, around what was held in the frequency of the name that I'd been called. Because I guess what I realized was that to a degree, my entire ego up to that point could be unpacked just by saying the word Melinda. It was all held in there like vibration, like a vibrational container of my existence. And I repeated my name over and over for a couple of hours until I said it and it was neutral. So it went through this high and low of like times when I was celebrated as Melinda, times that I was punished as Melinda, times that I was scolded by a teacher by the name of Melinda, or having my name called in a violent way, or having it thrown at me in a bullying way. Just all these emotions that were attached to the way that this name was used as I grew. And I said it until I could say it, and I had no emotion toward it. Like there wasn't celebration, there wasn't grief, there wasn't sadness. It just was a neutral sound. And then I was like, and then I heard, you can go by Suri now if you want to. And it was because you've cleaned out this thing, this past history with this other name that you were called. And then in a really weird turn of events, when I was in high school, I was in choir and we made a CD and I had it in my car. Keep in mind, I'm like 27 now and I'm getting in my car and I always played my iPod. So normally when I get in the car and turn it on, the iPod starts playing music. But for whatever reason, this day, it started playing the CD player instead of the iPod. And it was this CD from when I was in high school. And it was based on Isaiah 41:10, which says, "Fear not, for you are called and named." So I get in the car and I turn it on and I'm late for this dinner party. And all of a sudden I hear me singing back to me, "Fear not, fear not, fear not. You are mine." And I was like, I don't know what's happening in the universe right now, but I feel consent to officially tell people that I'd like to be called Suri.
What was your experience like at the dinner party after? Do you recall that?
Yes, I went and I brought my the meaning of my spiritual name, and I told everyone why I was late, and they were all like, "Yeah, like what happened?" And I was like, "I just spent 2 hours crying on my living room floor, and here's what happened." And I was blessed because I was going to a dinner party with a bunch of like fellow yogis who are all kind of, you know, already more open to this kind of thing at that time. And they all really accepted it. And there were 5 of them there at the same time. And so all of them made an agreement like, yes, we'll call you Suri. And they were also part of my social community in a larger expanse. So they helped the transition happen very quickly and without effort.
Mm. Bless good community. Oh, including those that love us in all the best ways and those that play pranks because they know where to get us where it counts without doing any harm. Like,
Bless them
keep
all.
us accountable.
All right. So we have a few minutes left. And with those few minutes, something that I'd really love to get to hear from you, if you feel willing to share it with us. I would love to hear from you a little bit about the work that you do between the indigenous or the jungle and the concrete jungle. Because I feel for myself that that's a very important work. I know that for myself, when I go from the jungle into the concrete jungle, I struggle to assimilate. And I grew up there. Like I grew up in the concrete jungle. And then I came here and started undressing myself from consumerism and from just the busyness of life. And now when I go back, I actually have a harder time being there than I do here, which is a strange thing for me. I never thought that that would be my reality. But you are constantly moving between worlds and attempting to bridge something. So whatever you're willing to share, if you are willing to share on how you're doing that work now between the heart and the mind and the jungle and the concrete jungle, I would love to hear anything that you have to say on that.
Yeah. I feel the same in feeling really discordant returning to the concrete jungle, returning to the US in particular, where there's just a lot of din. There's a lot of just background hum and extra stress and energy in the general everything. And I even find it creeping in natural settings here. Spent a lot of time this year traveling across the country back and forth and spending time in really beautiful parts of nature. And even there, I can feel some of the, which without getting too far into that, always makes me wonder about my own perception and why is that my experience? Initially, I found some of the return to the US for longer periods or even shorter periods of time to be really uncomfortable and something that I was avoidant and something that my language was around. I have my more natural affinity is in the jungle, is in natural settings elsewhere. And over time, I have shifted my story, the narrative that I am telling about my life, because it was creating this otherness and this discomfort. But one thing leads to another. One thing, like an Ouroboros, the snake that's eating its own tail, it's like that. One thing, you start changing the story, and then there's also this change, and that change informs this thing. So this has been the longest amount of time that I've been in the US most recently. I was spending a lot of time in Costa Rica and then just occasional trips in the US. And this has been the longest stretch of time for quite some time. And I'm feeling over time more of that harmonizing within myself. And so I'm able to spend longer periods of time without feeling uncomfortable, which is where the work comes in. Like what I have to offer just purely from presence, from doing as much as I can within myself to be secure and safe within myself, to be trusting for myself, trusting that which creates me, there's more balance in my life, more harmonizing of these things. So this journey is teaching me a lot also. And it always starts with myself first, because that's the best thing I got and what I know, what I know the best. um, yeah. A part of it for me has been important to notice my own narrative around it. And that's part of the path also. Like, you're going to notice how deeply, I think we might have touched on this in the beginning, or I did, about the binary and the contrast. It's so distinctly different. But I've accepted and chosen to be a bridge. So specifically to your question would be, a lot of my work currently is based around community development specific to land-based projects. And that often is in the form of retreat centers, though, and those that are not specifically medicine retreat centers. They may host medicine circles occasionally, but they're doing retreats of every style and variety, of CEO wellness to men's groups, women's groups, yoga, corporate wellness retreat, all kinds of different things, and then some medicine ceremonies. And so the influence to the land itself, the land, which is the initial container and resonant, is receiving all of this information. And so that means there's more exchange of that within the different kinds of people that come through, which is really interesting when I've been working in land projects that are closer to urban centers, like ones that are closer to Manhattan or closer to San Francisco, where you have a lot of people that they're drawn to nature, they're drawn to something, but they're not quite sure what that thing is. And having the influence from other kinds of people and other experiences that have gone to the jungle or have traveled around the world or haven't spent as much of their time in concrete jungle every day doing the thing, there's more influence for one another. So the intention is to, in my personal life, bring the things that I have learned from Indigenous teachers of many different tribes and places, many who visited Costa Rica, many throughout my travels in Central and South America. I did a lot of work with Native American tribes in festivals. That was the earlier part of my life, like 15, 20 years ago, was bringing festivals to some of the most impoverished nations in the United States, in this land, Turtle Island. And because it's some of the only unregulated money that they receive. Which is very interesting. And so it created a mutual reciprocity and benefit that can go beyond just the money that's exchanged. It can go into the things that we can learn from one another, the ways in which we tend to and respect land, the ways in which we leave it better than we found it, the ways in which we have encounters with one another, that alone, people of different walks of life and understanding, and art installations and community and belonging and gifting and all these really beautiful things. So a lot of it is walking my own, returning to my own mat, and influenced by the teacher in everyone, and particularly the teachers that are carrying ways of old, and having more of a voice in the world. Another thing, I'm deeply in gratitude for you for having a voice in the world, the ways in which we can share what we have to offer one another, a different way to look at things, the things that make you tilt your head, the things that are deeply meaningful and connect with you in the heart, right? The things that you're going to go and share with someone else. The next 3 conversations you have, you added a little of something that caused someone else to be curious about what's out there in the world. I don't believe in any one way. I believe in the many way. I believe in the in-between ways. And yeah, that's what I'm up to.
You mentioned it at the beginning, and you also mentioned it here at the end, and I would just like to celebrate it for a moment, because from my perspective, oftentimes the greatest leader is the one who doesn't want to be nominated to be the leader. And for some reason, I really get that vibe from you, is that like, you're not trying to be the leader, but like most oftentimes in a room, people are like, perception. And so you do have that quality of leadership that's not like you're not trying to go for it, but it's often handed to you because of the presence that you hold. And the second factor about like leadership and guiding a way or guiding a path is your own understanding that you don't know the right way, but you know what feels good and you know what's intuitive, and also spaciousness for how someone else presents their own path. And it's like, I don't know if this thing that I'm walking is correct for you, but you could try it and see if it's right for you. And I don't know if this path is the right way for you. I don't know if the way that we're going is the right way, but we got to try it. And similar to your sentiment earlier of like, I'm not sure exactly what the pattern change is that we need as a society, but I know the pattern needs to change. And I love that. It's funny because it's authoritative, but it's also super surrendered simultaneously. I know we need a pattern change, but I'm not the one to say how the pattern changes. It's kind of up to all of us to create that. And so in witnessing you and talking to you, I'm like, yeah, that's a leader I'd follow, even if she doesn't know the direction she's going.
I have one more thing I want to share.
Yes, please.
A piece of wisdom that came from wherever ideas come from. Resignation, rebellion, creation. We have 3 response choices in life: resignation, rebellion, creation. Complain at the clerk at the bodega, complain at my wife, complain at the TV, complain at this person. Rise up against the machine. Fuck them, fight this. I can't do it. Write a 600-page lobby proposal to whatever politician, this, that, or the other thing. Machine existence system. Or we can ask what if and be creative and play with our friends. Fuck it, fuck you, what if? What if? What if? What if? I want to find more of us for that. And I'm happy to be a leader if there are others standing next to me who also want to help lead the way.
And say what if.
And say what if. What if?
Mm-hmm. What
Fun.
if?
It could be fun. You could try. It could be fun. Something different.
Perception. And that is exactly the note that I want to leave on, actually, because it's perfect. It's this, that was so beautifully said. There's the complaining energy, there's the fighting energy, or there's let's just create. And I also resonate with that because that's my own form of rebellion of like, I don't know what to do about the situation on planet Earth right now, but I know I'm going to roast a pumpkin and write a song.
Yeah.
Because that's all I have the power to do right now is like make some pumpkin bread and like play my ukulele.
Both of which I haven't tried the pumpkin bread, so I can't comment on that. But the ukulele playing that I've been exposed to, thank you so much for that in the world. Thank you so much for that in the world. Yes.
Yeah.
There's so much I can't do anything about. And the energy I can expend exchanging about politics, especially in this country where it's so heavy, and I can spend my energy trying to solve or fight against this thing that already exists. I don't want to spend my time there. I don't have to. I can be nicer to the people around me. I can be kind and make pumpkin bread and play ukulele for my neighbor. I can learn my neighbor's name and what kind of bread they like to eat. There's a lot of, I think there's so much possibility, friends. Let us not give up hope yet. And let this be the beginning of so much more hope in myself and in the world.
Yeah. Perception, thank you so much. And for those watching and listening, thank you so much for your attention and your ears and for taking in the wisdom that was shared here today. If any of you have any wisdom on names or something else you'd like to be called, please feel free to drop it in. We'll start calling you that. And it's my prayer that Perception will join us again soon so you can hear a little bit more about what else she's doing on planet Earth, because this woman is full of wisdom. But for now, I hope you guys have a beautiful night, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, friends.